What would happen if the US pulls out of NATO? It's a question that sends shivers down the spine of political enthusiasts worldwide. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, was born out of the ashes of the Second World War. Its mission: to ensure the security and unity of the North Atlantic community. The United States, as one of the founding members, has always been the backbone of this alliance, providing military strength, strategic guidance, and economic support. This alliance is not just a matter of military might, it's a bond forged in the fires of shared history and common values, a commitment to democracy, individual liberty, and the rule of law. These are the principles that have guided the US and its allies for more than 7 decades. But let's imagine for a moment an unthinkable departure, a scenario where the United States decides to pull out of NATO. This is not just a simple goodbye, it's a seismic shift that would send shockwaves through the international community. The United States is the lifeblood of NATO. It contributes the lion's share of the alliance's military budget, and its strategic capabilities are unparalleled. It's the glue that holds the alliance together, the shield that guards against threats. Without the US, NATO would be like a body without a heart, but this is not just about military power. It's about influence. The United States, through NATO, has a significant say in global affairs. It helps to shape the world order, to uphold democratic values, to keep the peace. If the US were to leave NATO, it would be surrendering this influence. It would be turning its back on its allies, on its commitments, on its leadership role in the world. This is not a decision to be taken lightly. It's a decision that could reshape the world as we know it. Now that we have established the importance of the US in NATO, let's explore what could happen if it decides to leave. The immediate aftermath of such a move would be dramatic. The world, as we know it, would be plunged into a state of uncertainty, with the balance of power on the global stage teetering on the edge of a seismic shift. The United States pulling out of NATO would send shockwaves through the international community. A ripple effect would begin, with the potential to alter the geopolitical landscape significantly. In the absence of the United States, the power vacuum within NATO would likely trigger a scramble among the remaining member states. Countries like Germany, France, and the United Kingdom would be thrust into the limelight, needing to step up and fill the leadership void. Chaos could ensue in the immediate term, at least. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a cornerstone of global security since the mid-20th century, would be in an unprecedented crisis. The organization's collective defense clause, enshrined in Article 5, would lose much of its deterrent power without the military might of the United States backing it. The reaction from other NATO members would be swift and varied. Some, like Canada and the European members, may feel betrayed, their trust in a reliable ally shattered. Others, perhaps the newer and smaller members, might feel vulnerable, their security blanket ripped away. The absence of the United States could also embolden potential adversaries, who may seize the opportunity to test NATO's resolve without the American safety net. Amidst the turmoil and trepidation, the global community would be forced to reassess their alliances and strategies. Countries would need to rethink their defense budgets, their diplomatic ties, and their positions on international conflicts. The geopolitical chessboard would be reset, with new alliances forming, old partnerships strained, and the global order reshaped in ways that are hard to predict. While these immediate reactions would be significant, the long-term implications could be even more profound. The shockwaves from the United States' departure from NATO would reverberate far beyond the immediate aftermath, setting in motion changes that could redefine the world order for generations to come. In the long run, the departure of the US from NATO could reshape the world as we know it. Firstly, let's consider the potential for a new Cold War. The balance of power that NATO establishes has been pivotal in preventing major conflicts since World War II. Without the US, NATO might lose its deterrent effect against international aggression. This could potentially lead to a new arms race and heightened tensions, similar to the Cold War era. Countries might be forced to hedge their bets, forming alliances based on power politics rather than shared democratic values. Secondly, the US leaving NATO would create a power vacuum in international politics. The US, with its military might and diplomatic influence, has played a significant role in global decision-making processes. If the US were to pull out, there would be a void left in its place. This could lead to a scramble by other nations, both allies and potential adversaries, to fill this vacuum. The ensuing uncertainty could destabilize international relations and increase the chances of conflicts. Thirdly, the departure of the US might spur the formation of new alliances. European countries may decide to strengthen their own defenses and form a unified European military force. On the other hand, countries like Russia and China, who have often felt threatened by NATO's expansion, might see the US's departure as an opportunity to establish their own alliances, further complicating the global political landscape. The long-term implications of the US leaving NATO are vast and unpredictable. It's a scenario that could fundamentally change the world order, with potential risks and opportunities for all nations involved. It's a decision that should not be taken lightly, as the ripple effects would be felt for decades to come. To sum up, the long-term implications of the US pulling out of NATO could lead to a new Cold War, create a power vacuum in international politics, and spur the rise of new alliances. These long-term changes could fundamentally alter the global political landscape. The US wouldn't escape unscathed from such a move. Let's delve into the potential ramifications. Firstly, the United States has been a leading voice in NATO since its inception. Walking away from this alliance would signify a significant loss of international influence. The US has often used its position in NATO to shape global security policies and promote democratic ideals. Without this platform, its ability to wield power on the international stage could be severely diminished. Secondly, there's an increased potential for conflict. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was designed to deter aggression and maintain peace. If the US were to withdraw, it could destabilize this delicate balance, leading to increased tensions and potentially conflict. This isn't just about Europe either. The ripple effects could touch every corner of the globe, putting American interests and citizens at risk. Now let's talk dollars and cents. The economic implications of a US withdrawal from NATO are far-reaching. The United States economy is deeply intertwined with those of NATO member countries. A withdrawal could disrupt trade, cause market instability, and potentially lead to a global recession. The US defense industry, which benefits greatly from NATO contracts, could also take a significant hit. Moreover, the cost of national defense could skyrocket. Currently, NATO provides a collective security umbrella, allowing the US to share defense costs with other member nations. If the US were to go at it alone, it would need to shoulder a greater portion of its defense budget, potentially diverting funds from other vital domestic programs. Lastly, the US's reputation as a trusted ally would be on the line. Pulling out of NATO could be seen as a betrayal by other member nations, damaging long-established diplomatic relationships. This could isolate the US, making it more difficult to build coalitions or find allies in times of crisis. Pulling out of NATO could have far-reaching consequences for the US, both domestically and internationally. It's a decision that would undoubtedly reshape the geopolitical landscape, and not necessarily for the better. The stakes are high and the potential fallout is profound. While the hypothetical departure of the US from NATO is a complex and unsettling prospect, it's a notion that takes us into uncharted territory, a place where the structures and ties that have upheld international peace and security for over 7 decades could be unceremoniously toppled. We've navigated the potential aftermath in our discussion, the immediate effects that could ripple across the globe. This departure could trigger a domino effect, with other nations potentially following suit, eroding the strength and unity of NATO. We've seen how it could create a power vacuum, allowing for the rise of new or existing threats. The immediate aftermath would likely be a period of uncertainty and instability as the world adjusts to a seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape. Looking further ahead, the long-term implications are equally daunting. Could NATO survive without the US? Perhaps, but it would undoubtedly be a diminished force, its deterrence value significantly reduced. The global balance of power could be irreversibly altered with unpredictable consequences. And as for the US itself, this departure could be a double-edged sword. On one side, it may gain a degree of freedom from the obligations and constraints of the alliance, but on the flip side, it would also lose the collective security benefits that NATO provides. The US would find itself in a new world order, where it may have to face its challenges alone. Yet, it's important to remember that these are all hypothetical scenarios. They serve to highlight the critical importance of NATO and the role it plays in maintaining global peace and security. They underscore the interconnectedness of our world, the intricate web of alliances and partnerships that underpin the stability we often take for granted. While this scenario is purely hypothetical, it serves as a reminder of the intricate web of alliances that maintain global stability.